composition is something that often people think is beyond their abilities. When we think about musical composition, it seems so complex and so difficult to do that a lot of people are afraid of it. But it's truly no more difficult than composing, say, a story or composing a work of art. Just like those, you have to think about what you want to say and then just break it down into the smaller parts. One of the first smaller parts that you need to think about is how are you going to compose? There are many different ways to do this. You could take paper and try to write it down on a piece of paper. You could use an electronic program such as GarageBand or any of the other electronic music programs that you know how to use. There's another one called Audacity that I believe you can download free from the internet. Do you have an instrument in front of you that you could just compose on it? You might not write it down, but you might just come up with something on it and play it that way, just from your memory. Compositions don't have to be written down. Now, in the past, teachers often will want you to write them down, but in this project, know that all we're asking for is something. Now, if that something is written down, or if that something is playable by an electronic device, or it's just playable by you in a different way, all of that is fine. Any of that. The more you do, the more you'll learn, and the more your piece will have. But it's up to you how you want to present it. And know that composition doesn't mean that you have to write it down. In some cases, that is really the hardest part of music. So, as you're thinking about what to compose, you're gonna want to think about what do you have to say. What is it that you're trying to express? What are you trying to talk to the audience about? Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you trying to tell them a story that starts this way and then moves that way? Music does all sorts of things. Sometimes it singularly expresses an emotion. Sometimes it talks about a story. Sometimes it is trying to paint pictures in your head. There's many things that it can do. So you want to decide, what is your purpose? Are you trying to help them feel a certain way? Are you trying to tell them something specific? Or are you what? So making those decisions. Once you have your what you want to say, then you can start thinking about, well, what kinds of musical things match that? For example, if I wanted to do something sad, does it make sense that it would be really fast and energetic? Probably not. Most of us, when we're sad, it is slow. It is usually gentle. That's sadness. So I come to the piano because this is where I do most of my composing, and I think sad. So I started off with something a little strong, and then it got gentler. I hope you noticed. Minor sounds tend to be very sad for us modern ears. Major tends to be happier. It isn't always that. Know that just like any song, what you think and what the audience hear might be different things, and it's okay. As long as you create something that expresses it in the best way that you can think of. You might think angry. So angry is going to be pretty powerful, right? It's not going to be just a gentle, that's not angry. Using more notes, using bigger notes, louder sounds tend to be more aggressive and angry. Happy tends to be lighter and gentle. Also, if you're working with an instrument like a piano where it has a large range, you might think about, it should be a low sound or should it be a higher sound? Should it be fast? Should it be slow? Should it be strong or a gentler song? There are many different aspects of music to consider, and as you're thinking about what it is you want to say, start thinking about, well, what parts of music would match that? What kind of aligns with what I want to say? There's also another technique in music trying to create a sound. For example, if I was trying to create water, I might create something like this. So this is my musical version of water. So it's a part of something. So if I was trying to tell you about how sad I am that water is going away and that we are polluting our water and that fish are dying, I might come up with something like that. So it depends what you want to say, and you want to consider all those things. So you might actually end up, the music that you create might represent an aspect of what you want to say. There's a famous piece called Peter and the Wolf by Sergei Prokofiev, and in this it's an orchestra piece, and in that song certain instruments represent certain characters. So when you hear the violins and they go bum bum ba-dum bum bum ba-dum bum ba-da-dum bum, that's supposed to be Peter. And when you hear the French horns go bum ba-da-da-da-dum bum ba-da-da, it's supposed to be the wolf. So music sometimes is representing certain things. So that's another aspect to kind of keep in mind, that you could do that if you wanted as well. Usually music is a combination of all of those things. So once you've figured out what you want to say and you've thought about some musical ideas of how that might be expressed, just start. So whatever instrument or whatever technique you're using, so if I was using my voice, I might just start ba-da-da-bum-bum-bum. I kind of like that. Ba-da-da-da-bum-bum, ba-da-da-da-dum-bum-bum. Depending on what I was trying to express, just start with something. You might, if you're creating something with your mouth or with an instrument like a piano, you might have a recording device near you and just record your ideas, and then later you might try to put those ideas together in a larger piece. If you're working electronically, obviously there's usually a playback button with that, so you can just kind of listen to it again and again and adjust as you go along. It'll be really interesting to see what you create. At this first step for this project, you don't need to create the entire thing. Just get an idea of what you might create. You might create a whole bunch because you start and you're like, oh my goodness, I have more to say, I have more to create, so you do more. But no, for this first part, we only want you to create just a little bit. It's kind of like the brainstorming. Later, if you choose to do music, you can develop it further and create a real piece that you're going to share with other people. So know that whatever you create, you are most likely going to share with other people. Anyway, I hope this helps. Bye.